I think for life, we're in a rush that we are responding instead of being proactive in the choices that we make.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Michael Woodward. Previously, episode 1188 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 4 months, 2 days, 12 hours, and 15 minutes since we recorded that conversation. However, I had the opportunity to meet Michael face to face 8 months after that conversation. 8 months, 28 days, and 19 hours, and 45 minutes, right? After I got to meet him on June 19, 2018. Then we had a conversation. Now it's been 1 year and 7 months and 4 days since I met him. And it feels as though it was days ago. Michael, how are you doing today, my friend?
I am good. Hearing those numbers, I'm like, where did the time go?
It feels as though I was just in Pennsylvania. It feels as though it was just then, and I guess this really puts us in touch with a reality that we run from, the possibility of death, right? It's closer. It's definitely closer than it was.
So true.
How do you interact with that? I mean, just the fact that you're seeing the time ticking as well. Is that something in the forefront or the back end of your mind that it is possible that you could die today or tomorrow?
Well, I think, when you're younger, when you're in your early 20s and your teens, you think you have forever. And the older you get, at least for me, the more I realize forever is coming rapidly towards me. It's that day is going to happen, and it's all guaranteed for all of us. There's no one that's ever robbed the hour of death in their life. They hit it. And with 2 young kids, I mean, I'm sure you can relate too. The older you get, the more they grow up, the more you think about what's life going to be like when you're gone and they don't have you anymore, or that you only have so much time and that time is precious with them, and to take advantage of every second. So I think that concept of life and death and it racing towards us illuminates more every day. The more I look at my kids and know that this time is measured, it's going to run out. And so to take that moment, take those seconds, those minutes with our kids and with my wife and cherish it and maximize it to the best that I can.
Which is something you've focused on. You have been very intentional about what you're doing, when you're doing it, so that you can have that focus on your family. How have things evolved since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, lots have changed. So our lease ran out end of May of last year, 2019. Wow. So instead of jumping right into another place to live, we put everything into storage and we traveled and visited family, spent time with people we hadn't seen for a long time, went on adventures and had a lot of fun. And so from June through the first week of September, we were just living moment to moment with each other. Of course, I was fitting work and the podcast and everything else around the travel experience, but we got to do things that, for at least my wife and I, were things we talked about when we said, well, we don't have the money to do that. We shouldn't do that. We have this expensive house and all of that. And by not having the house, it freed us up to do things that people talk about doing, that we talked about doing, and opened up the doors to go on these crazy, crazy adventures. And so my wife and I were talking at the end of the summer, and she's like, I got to do everything I wanted to do. And months ago, in January, February, March, we were looking at going, there's no way we could pull off these things. And through a set of circumstances, we're able to say, we're able to do more than we think we can when we look at possibilities through the lens of how do we make this happen instead of this can't happen. And it was a crazy cool adventure and brought us together as a family even more than we were. And to be able to connect up with people we hadn't seen for a long time and spend time with their friends and their family and get to see, people from 10 years ago that we love dearly and be able to hang out with them. It's been a crazy cool 2019. It's been scary at times, but it's been exciting. And going into 2020, we're just so excited for the future and what's in store.
It's really fascinating. Well, I'm talking from a Caribbean perspective that we got there and we were able to visit and hear so many other people say, wow, I would love to do what you're doing. We've never done that. And there are two parts of this where, yes, it is as easy as doing it, right? And you've done that.
Yeah.
You've seen that. The second part is, it's a lot better when you're younger. My wife and I, we walk on mornings, and I'm so thankful that we did that then. Yeah. Because it's crazy on the road, right? It's definitely a different type of stress level. But to be an old guy driving, like my left butt cheek would not hear of it, right?
Yeah. I went to college in Florida. I lived and grew up in Pennsylvania. And it was nothing for me in my early 20s to jump in a car and just go, I'm going to drive for 6 hours and then wake up super early after driving all night, get in at 3, 4 a.m., wake up at 7 or 8 and go. Now I can't do that. And especially with kids and taking them on the road, it changes the rhythm which you travel. And for me, that can be frustrating because I'm like, I want to get up and go. And sometimes it's just like, I need to sit here and do nothing for a few minutes and just recoup from being on the road for 10 hours yesterday.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad that, again, another investment into the family life. Now, on the professional side, jumbleThink podcast is kicking, right? Woodward Designs, it's kicking as well. Web development is kicking. Yeah, is that correct?
Well, Woodward Design Group is no more. We rolled that into jumbleThink just for brand continuity and consistency of our accounting purposes and everything like that, just to simplify our lives. So we do a lot of the same web stuff. We just put it all under jumbleThink. And we've been on an adventure. I'm just hitting where I thought I would be a year ago with booking events to speak on innovation and idea formation and story. The podcast, we just hit 300 episodes last week.
Congratulations. Wow.
Trying to catch up to you. I'm working hard.
It's not a good idea. Yeah, it's not a good idea. Yeah.
And so that's going well. And it's been an adventure. We've had some of our best guests ever on the show. We've had some of the best conversations. I don't know about for you, but for me, just looking back over 300 episodes to see the growth in and how I'm able to hear what the guest is saying and to be able to guide a conversation, that transformation, I thought I was good 3 years ago. Now I'm like going, I still am not at the place that I want to be, but I'm getting so much closer and I'm feeling more confident and growing in that confidence. And it's just really fun. It's a lot of fun. So doing more web development than I'd like right now, but also really excited about the things we're being a part of with the podcast and with events and growing in that area. So it's a journey, and being content and being grateful in the season. That's been one of the biggest lessons of 2019 for us is there's a place of faith, feeling like, if you believe in God, that God's going to provide. And if you don't, just feeling like, life is going to be okay. And there's another level of that saying you can have extreme faith, but then you can also have gratitude and joy. And in that season, whether it's a good season or a bad season, a hard season or an easy season, and learning that lesson over 2019 of gratitude in the journey of faith has been, for the business and for us personally, one of the greatest lessons we've learned.
A ton of it has to do with listening. You are unpacking something with your podcast where it's one thing to get on there and speak and say the words that you're saying, but it comes after that deep listening, even listening to yourself, listening to the voice that you need to follow in the midst of all of the voices that are there. How do you continue to train yourself to discern that this is the voice I'm going to listen to today?
So whether it's in life and finding the voice of God for me, or through the business and listening to an interview, the lesson that I've been learning when it comes to hearing well has to do with the simplicity of slowing down. We're always in a rush to get where we're going in Western society. And often we overrun the voice that is speaking to us on the directions that we should be going, the things we should be hearing, the conversations we should be having. I think back to a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing a really cool guest for the show, and there was a point in the show where I had prepared for the show. I'd spent hours in research for the specific guest, and we went into a direction and a conversation I never anticipated. But if I had been rushing through that moment, I would have missed the little small prompting that said, this is a conversation you need to have. And it was really one of the most powerful moments of the interview. And I think for life, backing up to the larger picture, we're in a rush that we are responding instead of being proactive in the choices that we make. And so for me, in this last year, I've been going, yeah, I'm super busy. I've got a billion things to do. But if I slow down and listen, if I slow down and wait, often I hear a prompting that leads me into a place that's so much better than just rushing into the next thing.
Absolutely beautiful, my friend. And I say my friend, and I remember your song at 12 was Michael Smith, right?
Yeah.
Friends Forever. Amazing audience. Again, you're hearing it live from Michael Woodward, the amazing Michael Woodward. Really, really an amazing guy, folks. I said amazing 3 times there, so you can cube it. But yeah, check out jumbleThink podcast. Connect. Just amazing. My friend, thank you for your service to humanity. You could have kept it. Instead, you're sharing it. We appreciate you. We appreciate your service. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I know a lot of people who know you. And when we talk about you, we all have a common thread of feeling a couple things about you. And I just want to say this publicly. First off, you are filled with so much compassion, joy, and love in how you approach us. You are encouraging. I am thankful for you and the risk that you've taken on these journeys, whether it's through your 12-minute conversations, whether it's through the journeys and road trips you've done. You've stepped out in faith. You've stepped out in following the leading you are leaded towards. And I just want to thank you for your friendship and for being a light in a world that the dark voices are heard more often than they should. And you are a voice of hope. You are a voice of love. You are a voice of compassion. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for standing for what matters and taking the choices that are scary but worth it, that are unusual but are the ones that more people need to do. So thank you.
I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being the first person to bring tears to my eyes on the podcast. Thank you very much. Michael Woodward, folks. Again, a pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.